My name is Terry Coberly. I was born in 1948 at Bates Memorial Hospital on South Main in Bentonville, Arkansas. My father was Hugh Tater Black. He was born in Peerage, Arkansas in 1925. My mother was the beautiful Phyllis LaVon Rendon. She was born in Sapulpa, Oklahoma in 1930.
Tell me about your father's background in law enforcement and politics.
He was the first Bentonville Marshal, which was an elected position, in around 1950, I guess. He started out as a night patrolman in Bentonville, and it was
Keep going.
it was a position that he walked around and checked the locks on the doors at night. And one of the things he had to do was turn the eggs on the hatchery on South Main in Bentonville. And that paid part of his salary.
You mean flip them over in the cages?
Flip them over in the hatchery on South Main. Can you believe that? And at the end of the shift, he could go in City Hall and take a nap. And his mother cooked at the Bates Hospital where I was born, and she would go knock on the door and say, "Honey, it's time to get up." Isn't that amazing? Years ago, that's how small Bentonville was back then.
Well, tell me about your family. Did you have siblings?
I have one sister. My sister Tony Black lives here in Bentonville too. We've been here for a long time.
Good. So tell me about growing up in Bentonville. What was it like as a kid? What do you remember?
It was wonderful. I've had the best of both worlds in Bentonville. It was a small little Mayberry town, if you will, and my daddy ended up being elected sheriff. He was sheriff for 3 terms. We lived at the Benton COunty Jail, which I thought was a great adventure. We had jail breaks, which I thought was wonderful. My poor little mother just hated it. She didn't want her children living in the jail, but I thought it was a great adventure. We lived in an apartment, and she had to cook for the prisoners, which she hated. We finally had, Daddy hired somebody to finally do the cooking, and but we lived in an apartment there at the jail, and Daddy was elected 3 terms. And I was about probably 9 years old, I guess, when we lived there, 9 through, I guess, maybe 12. And it was a great adventure. We rode bicycles in the rain and played ball, and the prisoners would watch us play ball and cheer for us and all kinds of stuff. It was a wonderful, wonderful childhood.
So how big was describe the jail and how many inmates would be there?
I never really knew how many. But there was a trustee named Sheepy Fields, and it was kind of like Andy Griffith's show, you know, the trustee that was on the Andy Griffith show, and he would be locked up at night, and we had one. Sheepy Fields was like that. He was a trustee, and he would be let out during the day and come back in at night, and he would build things for us, a basketball goal, all kinds of really innocent time for us back then. But, you know, there were also people who would, you know, be awaiting trials for other more serious things too. Yeah.
Did you ever have any scary or serious incidents that?
Yeah, I mean, there were several there were like, I can remember 3 times there were jailbreaks, just like in the movies. And one time they were aware that there was going to be a jailbreak, and they tied sheets together and all that. And the police were out there waiting for them. They tied sheets together, and sheets hit the window. Well, I thought it was great fun and exciting. My mother was not like that kid, but we thought it was exciting and all that. And one time, I remember there was a murder trial. Of course, the jail was just off of the square by the courthouse, and it was the murder trial of Queenie Rand and Buddy Clark back in the 60s, and it was just huge. And a lot of people came to town with sack lunches to watch it was a big scandal, and the murder had taken place in Rogers. And, my parents had known the man who was murdered, and they knew the lawyers and all that. And Daddy was the sheriff who had to investigate and arrest the lady and all of that. And it was, that all took place then. It was just like in the movies. It was really exciting and all that. When he ran for sheriff, I would go with him knocking on doors to all the places in the county. And that was with poll tax. There was a poll tax, and we, go on the dirt roads and see who was registered to vote and all that. It was great fun.
So talk about school. Where'd you go to school, and what was it like?
I went to school. I started school at R.E. Baker School in Bentonville, a little elementary school, and then I went to Thomas Jefferson. My class was the first little class that went to. I went to 6th grade there, and then I went to. Now they call it Old High Elementary, and I went 7th through 12th grade there, and graduated from high school at Old High Elementary, and graduated in 1966.
So tell me, what was school like back in the day when you went?
It was, I loved school. Bentonville was a small town, and it was really, it was hard. We didn't know that it was hard to tell about income inequalities. I didn't know that Jim Walton's daddy made more money than my daddy, who was a policeman. So.
After you graduated high school in Bentonville, what would you do next?
I went to the University of Arkansas and majored in business the first year. I wanted to be a teacher. Back then in 1966, there weren't a lot of opportunities for girls. You either were going to be a teacher, a nurse, and so I wanted to be a business teacher. So I was in the College of Business the first year, and then I got married early and lived in Carlson Terrace and married my high school boyfriend, way too young, and lived in Carlson Terrace my sophomore year. And then my husband went to work for Walmart, and we moved around, and he was an assistant manager for Walmart, and then he went to the National Guard, and that was back during the Vietnam War and all of that. We were married for 8 years and divorced later. We have one son. I have one son, Lance Palmer. Now I have 2 granddaughters and 1 great-granddaughter who's 3. So, yeah.
So what's the story on how you ended up in politics?
Well, my current husband and I have been married for, we got married in 1975, and I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree. I didn't get my bachelor's degree till 1975. And I went to work at City Hall in the utilities department and worked there and went back to school and got my bachelor's degree and got my teaching degree in business like I originally had intended to do. And when my son was 9, I guess, the city clerk resigned. And after I got my bachelor's degree, I got a job teaching school at Bentonville High School. And teachers always need a second income. And the city clerk had resigned. And I thought, well, you know, it was a part-time job at the city. And I had worked in the utility department at the city, so I thought, well, I know how to do that. So I was appointed to fill the unexpired term of the city clerk. So I taught school full-time and did the city clerk job as a part-time position. So I was the city clerk for 9 years. And the mayor at the time was Don O'Neill. And he got in trouble for running a water line to his house without permission from the city council. So he was arrested and tried for that, and the first court was a hung jury. And the next trial, they said, well, if you'll resign, we won't send you to jail. And I, at that time, thought, oh my goodness, what is going to happen to my city? I was afraid there was going to be a building ban in Bentonville. And I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to have to do something. So I thought, I'm going to run for mayor. You know, we were having all kinds of sewer issues, wastewater issues. And I just thought, oh my God, somebody's going to have to do something. So I guess it's going to have to be me. I had never thought about it, you know. I mean, I had been involved in politics all my life. After my senior year, the summer after my senior year, I had worked for Jim Trimble, who had been the congressman here for 22 years. And I adored him. He was a wonderful man. And my daddy had been in politics forever, so I had worked in campaigns forever, but I had never considered running myself. But when I thought my city was about to be in trouble, I thought, somebody has to do something. So I thought, okay, I guess it's going to be me. And the governor had appointed my elementary school principal, John Fryer, to fill out Don O'Neill's term. But John Fryer had said, I don't want to run. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to. But then John Fryer decided, after I had already said I was going to, that he decided that he was going to too. Well, I had already committed, so I would have never, ever run against my principal, John Fryer. But I had already said I was going to. So it all happened, and there ended up being 6 people in the race. And that was 1994, and I ran and wanted it more than John Fryer.
So who are some of the people that came to you and encouraged you to run? And maybe
nobody encouraged me to run. Nobody encouraged me to run. And, you know, a lot of people encouraged me not to run and said, you need to wait. And, you know, John Fryer is great, and he was the bank president, and you know, you're a woman, and nobody encouraged me to run, but I ran and I knocked on a lot of doors, and I wanted it more. And
Do you think that you wanted it more is why you beat him? Did you campaign harder?
I campaigned harder, and yeah, I campaigned harder. I wanted it more, and yeah.
So once you got in there, what did you find about the job? Was it what you expected, or were there things you didn't expect? Talk about that. What was it like when you got in there?
Well, I had been city clerk for, 9 years, so I'd been at every meeting for 9 years. So, plus I had been a utility clerk before that. So, I loved the job, and I loved the challenge, and I loved my city. I loved it,
So what were some of the things you tackled first when you got in? What were your challenges or your projects you worked on when you first got in?
Sewer. The sewer, yeah. The biggest challenge that the city of Bentonville had when I was mayor was the infrastructure, and I was afraid that there was going to be a building ban in Bentonville, and the state had put a lot of conditions on building in Bentonville because of the sewer issues that we had.
What were the issues? Lack of capacity or inadequate treatment or what?
We had a lot of leaking in our pipes all over town. So we had to replace a lot of pipes. And so we had to start there. It was money and all that. So we had to replace pumping, a lot of pumping stations and all that. So we just had to get money and replace pipes. And
what about your streets and other infrastructure? What projects did you work on there?
Well, in the 12 years that I was mayor, we had to do a lot of master plans, and we had to look at a lot of fundamental start from scratch, bottom up, really bottom up from the sewer, ground up, foundational, ground up.
There were several projects you worked on that when you were mayor. What are some of the ones that stand out maybe as the most important, or some of the ones you're the most proud of?
I thought some of the stuff that I thought about most challenging, that I'm most proud of, are the infrastructure things that cities that people really don't think about. Citizens are happy as long as the light's green and they can keep moving, and they don't really think about flushing the toilet as long as they can turn the lights on and the light's green when they get to the stoplight. That's what they're happiest about. But they don't think about a lot of the stuff that we really had to take care of. But I'm most proud of the fundamental infrastructure things that we took care of. And really, Bentonville was really growing at a fast rate. When I first was elected mayor, the population was around 15,000. And in the 12 years that I was mayor, we doubled in population, but we also grew our square mile area, doubled, our population doubled and our square mileage doubled as well. But we took care of our infrastructure, our streets and our water and our sewage, and Bentonville has its own electric system too. One of the few cities in Arkansas, and I'm really proud of that. And we invested a lot of money in that infrastructure as well. And we passed a sales tax, bond issue for that, and we passed impact fees. And we did master plans for every single department, and we bought 130 acres for parks, and we did all kinds of fundamental things that were really progressive during those 12 years. So we went from, the reason I ran was I thought there was going to be a building ban, and when in fact our population doubled, and so did our square miles, and so did our budget. And I'm really proud of everything we accomplished, and I had a wonderful team, wonderful team.
Who were some of the members of your team that you give credit to for helping you?
Oh, I had a wonderful staff, and I had a great, I had a wonderful chief of police. I had James Allen was my chief of police. Leon Reese was the fire chief. Britt Vance was our city engineer. Camille Stedman was our city attorney. She was wonderful. We had a lot of legal issues. We had to fight a lot of people in court. We had a lot of issues with our neighboring city, Centerton, at the time. We had a lot of legal issues with Carroll Electric at the time over our service areas with electricity. We were in federal court with over water service issues as well. And a lot of those issues were settled. I lost my election in 2006, and we were right on the cusp of realizing a lot of the growth that you see now. The plans were in place, and a lot of wonderful things, if you can see, and as a result of everything we did, you can see the results of the things that we won in court, and the plans that we have done were a result of things that took place before then. But we had to fight for things in federal court and plan, and but I'm really proud of.
Good. What about the county officials that you dealt with over the years? Who would have been, probably mostly the judge, but who else you deal with from the county, maybe the sheriff's side?
Well, let's see. Andy Lee was a sheriff part of the time. Gary Black was judge part of the time.
Now talk about Gary. You're related to him, not?
Gary is my first cousin, and we partnered on some county roads and city roads that were, Price Coffee Road was one of them that we had some partnerships on. And the city of Bentonville partnered with the state as well. And we were one of the first cities in the state that partnered with the state to bump up some, how we were able to get the state to kick us up on their list to widen some state highways sooner rather than later on their schedule of things to do, widen, if we would partner with them.
if someone came to you and said, Mayor Coberly, what was your biggest success as mayor, what would you tell them?
I would say infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember back in the day when we had the meetings, when they were talking about, you talked about regional planning, and they were saying, we have to build an airport, we have to put in, there was maybe even a jeopardy of the Walmart might be forced to relocate if they didn't have good transportation. Do you remember those? And if you do, what do you remember of all that?
The airport was a huge thing, and actually Bentonville supplied the water and the sewer to the airport, and there was a lot of controversy. They were trying to get rural water to western Benton County, and they really couldn't get. Bentonville could supply water immediately, but there was some rub about rural water and Bentonville water. It was a huge controversy. That was huge.
Water service territory thing?
Yes. That's one of the things we had to go to court about.
So did you win that and were able to?
Yes.
So how important was that?
Well, it was really important, and the city of Bentonville supplied and had supplied the city of Centerton with water for years. But the city of Centerton wanted to break their water contract with the city of Bentonville and go to rural water. So there was that controversy with the city of Centerton and the airport and rural water and Centerton, and it was a huge, huge conflict. And huge conflict.
Okay. We'll talk about, and you mentioned this before the interview, is you were a little surprised to draw competition in your last term. Talk about that. Well, let me ask, the second term, did you have competition, ever race?
I was unopposed. I served 3 terms. The second term as mayor, I was unopposed. Yeah, so that was nice. I like that kind. And my last term, the first term, there were 5 of us in the race, and John Fryer and I were in a runoff, and I prevailed. The second time, I was unopposed, and the third time, Bob McCaslin, who was on the city council, served me on the city council, ran against me, and I was defeated by Bob McCaslin.
Okay. So what's next? Would you anything next for your politics, or do you know?
Well, I'll probably work on other people's campaign because I'm not a very good loser. Hurt my feelings. Yeah.
Well,
I enjoyed serving. I loved the job and was proud of my team and what we accomplished. But yeah, it hurt my feelings. I'm not a good loser.
Who are some of the politicians that you've met over the years, maybe from other areas that you've developed friendships with or you've gotten to know?
Oh, well, one of my very favorite things was Arkansas Municipal League. I was very fortunate. My first term as mayor, I was appointed to the Arkansas Municipal League board, and I was fortunate to serve on there, so I met people from all over the state, and oh my gosh, that was such a wonderful experience. And as a matter of fact, in 2005, I was fortunate enough to be president of the league, and I loved meeting people from all over the state. Some of my dearest friends are mayors from all over the state of Arkansas. I wouldn't give that up for anything. And it was a wonderful opportunity.
What are some of your memories from campaigning back in? You obviously campaigned as a kid. Did you use some of those same skills? And what did you do when you campaigned?
Well, and one thing I can tell you is never take anybody's vote for granted. You know, even if they have voted for you before, and even if you've known them all your life, people expect you to ask them for their vote. And you need to look them in the eye and tell them you appreciate their vote, and ask them to vote for you again. And if there's anything that they want you to, if they need or want you to do for them or expect you to do for them. I mean, people just need to be heard, and they need to know that you're listening to them. And I always told my staff, people just need you to hear them. Just listen, you know.
When you were out campaigning, how many of the questions were of a personal nature, and how many of them had to do with policy or government? I mean, what did they ask you about? They want to know who you were, they want to know what you're going to do as mayor.
The city offices are supposed to be nonpartisan, but you would be surprised how often people would say, "Are you a Democrat or Republican?" You know, and I would say municipal offices are nonpartisan, but they would often say, "Are you a Democrat or Republican?" And I was always shocked by that, and I would insist that, you know, it's nonpartisan, and it should be. Municipal offices should not be partisan.
What did you do, or how was your office run to avoid partisanship? I mean, or was that common? Were they all nonpartisan? Did they operate?
Well, most of the municipal offices in the state of Arkansas are nonpartisan. As a matter of fact, I can't think of any.
But I mean, is there any partisan?
No.
I mean,
No.
City council members, they don't talk.
No. I mean, there's just no reason to be partisan in municipal government. You know, I guess you could be more conservative or liberal in your spending habits, I guess, you know, but there's not I see no reason to be partisan in municipal government or county government, really.
What have you observed in the offices, or how are they typically run by the county offices? Do they seem to be partisan or not? I mean, I know that voting isn't, but.
Honestly, on a local level, in county or city government, I see no reason for partisan. I see no reason for that.
What do you see down the future for Bentonville? What are the challenges Bentonville has? Are they the same old challenges, a different story, or what are they?
Well, you know, infrastructure is going to continue to be an issue, and for Northwest Arkansas, water is at some point is going to be if the population continues to grow at the fast pace it's growing. I mean, right now Bentonville, I think, population is about 55,000. It was 30 at the end of 2006, I believe, and now it's, I think, 55,000. You know, and so I don't know how much longer Beaver Lake is going to be able to sustain the kind of growth that Northwest Arkansas, you know, people aren't going to want to hear that, but at some point, water is going to be an issue. Yeah.
How has Walmart impacted Bentonville? I mean,
Well, you know, Walmart is a reason that it's flourished. You know, it is the reason that Bentonville has flourished. And Crystal Bridges is amazing. And now Alice Walton is, you know, bringing this medical school here. That's amazing. You know, and one of the things when I was mayor was the downtown. And it's amazing what's happened downtown. You can't find a place to park now. And I remember when I was first elected mayor, my daddy said, there are two things, honey, you're never gonna fix, and that's dogs and parking, and he was right. Dogs and parking, that's still an issue, and it's always gonna be an issue, but, you know, it's still an issue. It's always gonna be an issue, but Walmart has, you know, brought all kinds of people here. But one thing I like better than when I was growing up in this wonderful little Mayberry town that I grew up in, where you didn't have to lock your doors or do anything, and everybody knew everybody. And now I go and see all these wonderful restaurants and all kinds of cuisine that you can get here, which I love, but I don't know anybody when I go to town anymore. But I do love the diversity we have here. So I've had the best of everything here. Now that I'm an adult, I love meeting people from all across the world here, you know. And now we have this wonderful library that we built when I was mayor as well. And now I'm on the library foundation now. We're expanding it. It's, you know, going to be double the size it was when we built it in the last year that I was mayor. And there are people from all over the world that I see in that library now, you know. So I've just had the best of both worlds in this little corner of the world.
If someone came to you from another part of the country and said, Terry, tell me about Benton County. What's it like? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say it used to be the best kept secret, but now I think the secret's out. You know, it's really, it's a great place to be.
Complete this sentence for me. My favorite thing about Benton County is
Opportunity.